Welcome to the show. I'm Jason Whitlock, and I'll tell you why I'm worried about today's Supreme Court decision about sports gambling.
And I'm Colin Cowherd, and I'll tell you how Lamar Jackson is starting to look a little like Tim Tebow, and the season hasn't started. Speak for yourself on a Monday starts right now.
I mean, his arm's shaky, but it ain't that bad, Colin. Come on. All right, hello and welcome. Don't adjust your TV. I do look this good. We're joined today by Fox NBA analyst Chris Broussard and NBA champ Dante Jones. Let's start in Boston, where the Celtics blew out LeBron and the Cavaliers in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals yesterday. Cleveland put up just 83 points, including only 15 from LeBron. Even still, he says he's not worried about the series moving forward.
I have zero level of concern at this stage. I didn't go to college, so it's not March Madness. You get better throughout the series. You see ways you can get better throughout the series, but I've been down 0-1, I've been down 0-2. I've been down before in the postseason. But for me, there's never no level of concern, no matter how bad I played tonight with 7 turnovers, how inefficient I was shooting the ball. Just as confident going into a series, no matter if it's a 0-0 series or I'm down 0-1.
All right, LeBron may be onto something. His worst games this postseason have all been Game 1s, and he's been incredible in all the other games. Cowherd, should he be worried, though?
No, I mean, if the Cavs lost by 4, we wouldn't even have this discussion. But they got blown out, so you should be worried. Well, blowouts are the way the NBA works now with analytics. 37 of the 65 playoff games so far, and with the Warriors, we still have some blowouts happening, have been blowouts. So analytics are good and bad. They took away the huddle in football, game's faster, I love it. More skilled shooters in the NBA, I love it. The downside is some of these games are over about 12 minutes in. I guarantee you Houston, Golden State, both teams are going to win or lose a game with a blowout. If it was a 5-point loss, what would we care?
Well, I'm concerned. I'm never going to jump off LeBron's bandwagon. I still think they'll win the series. I am concerned, though. I thought Jeff Van Gundy said something yesterday that kind of just opened my mind to the possibility that Boston could win this series. Because you take LeBron away, Boston has a better roster. Even with their injuries of Hayward and Kyrie Irving, possibly the second, third, and fourth best players are wearing Boston Celtic uniforms, and we certainly know who the best coach is in this series. So I'm concerned. I don't have LeBron. I'm not made of vibranium like LeBron, so I get why he's not worried. But me, I'm concerned and I'm worried.
I'm a little insulted by that comment by Jeff Van Gundy saying the second, third, and fourth best players are in the Celtics jersey, because we have to pay attention to the man that Kevin Love is, the NBA champion, and the consistency level that he's done throughout the duration of his career. So we cannot take a season and put them ahead of Kevin Love because he is better than them. He's just in a different role on his team. However, Game 1 is generally a game of reads for LeBron James. He's seen every major coverage there is. He takes that game to try and compute what the defenses are throwing at him, how he's going to be able to take advantage of different defenses. And he kind of feels his way through that game. Sometimes you get great games, sometimes you get lackluster games. So I think his comment was necessary, and his comment is truly indicative of how he feels, because he's trying to look at how the series is going to be rather than trying to just dominate and take over Game 1 and just give everything that he has. I think this series is going to be a series of adjustments, and I don't think Brad Stevens and their defense has many adjustments. They've shown their cards. They've shown how they're going to be able to play LeBron James. Now it's for him to figure out how to beat their defense and beat them in any way he can.
I think that's a great point about LeBron reading Game 1. That's why his numbers haven't been what they have. Looks like he's trying to get his teammates involved in all 3 of these Game 1s, and they haven't been able to do it, so they've been in trouble. What I will say is this. I think I've gone from zero concern that Boston could win the series when it started to 10% concern because this is a different animal. Like we saw, so far it looks like Indiana, and we know that went 7. But this ain't Indiana, with all due respect.
Oh, I agree.
I mean, they have much better weapons. They don't just have Victor Oladipo. They got several guys that can hit the 3 and take you off the dribble. They obviously have a great coach who can get it done, and they have home court advantage. So if they went 7, I would pick LeBron because we've seen him with his back against the wall get it done. But I wouldn't want to go 7 with this Boston team just because they are gritty and smart, and I wouldn't want to be in that situation.
Dante points something out. You've played with LeBron. he kind of surveys the field. Tom Brady's never had a great first quarter in 8 Super Bowls. None. I'm not even sure, did they score it? He'd gone 7 Super Bowls with no points in the first quarter. Tom Brady's had great fourth quarters. You know, Muhammad Ali's not known for his first rounds. He's known for his 10th. I think these all-time greats, and LeBron's one, I think they kind of watch and say, what works, what doesn't. Then all of a sudden in the NBA, you're like, oh, God, we're down 24. And then it's over, and you're like, I'm going to pull back. I'm not going to show my cards on stuff.
My issue is vintage LeBron last night, they still lose, in my opinion. And that's what I'm worried about. Yeah, we know we're going to get a LeBron James type performance moving forward. But I'm going to go back at you, the Kevin Love deal. Who would you rather have at both ends of the court, Al Horford or Kevin Love?
Kevin Love.
Jason Tatum at this point.
Kevin Love.
Honestly.
At both ends of the court.
I don't. What does Al Horford have, and what has he done more than Kevin Love at this point in time?
I'm talking about in this series.
In this series
Let's
right now?
Throw history out the window. Who's going to be a better performer at both ends of the court in this series?
I would rather have Kevin Love. I'd rather take championship DNA over what Al brings to the table.
You'd rather take the past than what we're going to see in this series.
Because everybody is judged upon their past when you're taking things into consideration.
Kevin can hit threes.
I think
He spaces the
Kevin
floor
Love
better.
generally is the second best player in this series. He's had a better career than any of those guys on the Celtics. But these playoffs, he has been so inconsistent. That's my concern. I thought as the definitive second option now that he was going to be, virtually every night, you can scribble in 20 and 10 and know you're getting it. You haven't been able to do that with him.
Al Horford has definitely been their anchor. No disrespect to Al Horford. I'm not saying that he's a bad NBA player, anything of that nature. I would just rather have Kevin Love. I think they had one bad shooting performance. We've seen that it was their worst shooting performance of the season. I think shots that they didn't knock down, they're going to knock down. It's going to be a different game. It's coming down to that what is it? 4 for 26 from 3, 15% from 3. You're not going to win basketball games, though.
This time of year brings us 2 things: graduations and Father's Day, and the gifts that go along with them. Before you buy Dad another tie or that grad a balloon that will probably float away, ask yourself this: does my dad or grad like wings or sports, or better yet, both? If the answer is yes, then get them a Buffalo Wild Wings gift card. Right now, if you purchase $30 worth or more in-store or online, they'll give you a $5 bonus to keep for yourself. That's a gift that gives back. How generous of you. Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports. Terms and conditions apply.
The Western Conference, the finals are here. Rockets host the Warriors, game 1 tonight. Houston has admitted they're obsessed with beating Golden State. The combination of James Harden and Chris Paul, which some people doubted at the start of the year, has come up big in the playoffs, where both these guys have started to shake their reputations for shrinking in the postseason. Whitlock, both these guys play a lot of iso ball. Will it work against the Warriors?
I'm someone that thinks Houston has a chance, a real solid chance, of taking this series 7 games and winning it. I think the only way they get there, though, is if they do adjust a little bit their style of play. If Chris Paul and James Harden just pat the ball at the top of the key and everybody just runs off in their little 4 corners or whatever, I just don't think that's going to work over the long haul against Golden State. You can't come out with a completely different style of play, but they need to adjust. They're going to have to pass the ball. It's like the least passing team in the NBA is not going to beat the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, Oklahoma City got bounced. They had 10 assists one game. So I don't think just the ISO works. But people say, will it work against Golden State? Yes, but that doesn't mean it'll win. We're talking about the threes. Let me give you 2 other numbers, 4 and 2. The Warriors have 4 stars. Rockets have 2. Golden State should win the series because they have better players. We're looking at a team that we mention now among Magic and Kareem's Lakers.
You
and
do.
Michael and Pippen's
You do.
Bulls. Well, I do. I think if you consider the legislation of the game, the three-point shot, this is the fastest scoring, most athletic, longest, best ball handling team in my life.
NBA we've ever
Well,
seen.
perhaps, but that's the league we have.
Golden State has 4 stars because they've won on a consistent basis. That's why they have 4 stars. They don't have 4 franchise-carrying players, no. But they have 4 people that work well together to create a championship-level team. So Houston has the ability to play in a myriad of different areas where they can play the ISO game, they can pass the ball, they can knock down threes. I think versus Golden State, their defense tends to put you in ISO situations because they switch most pick and rolls and they switch most things. You have to be able to ISO to be able to beat them. That's how we beat them to win our championship, because we had two guys that can go ISO when they put you in those situations. If you don't have any ISO players, you can't beat them. That's what it comes down to. So I think Houston has a chance in 7 games to beat Golden State, and they are real. It's going to be a tough matchup.
You like
for
their
them.
style of play against Golden State?
I like their style of play. I think they're made to play Golden State to beat them in the 7-game series. I think that's the way they put their roster together. I think they have enough defenders to be able to wear KD down and not be put in a situation where KD's just playing ISO basketball by himself on an island, one dribble pull up everywhere. They have defenders that can go and make it tough for KD.
We're talking about Chris and James. They have to be at their best together for 5 or 6 games of this series. We haven't seen that much in the playoffs yet. You know, James has been great. Chris has been bad or so-so. Chris has been great. James has been bad or so-so. They're going to need to combine greatness. But this goes beyond them. Eric Gordon has not been Eric Gordon. 18 points in the regular season, 13 in the postseason. Trevor Ariza from 12 points in the regular season or 11 to 8, you know, and not shooting well, either one of them. Those guys are going to have to step up if they're going to have a chance to beat Golden State.
I think this series goes down to the team that's the hungriest. And I pay attention to Houston because their legacies are on line right now, James and CP. They're playing for something more than just a normal playoff series. They're playing for how you define their career when they're done. I think this is their opportunity. I like their relationship with each other because I think they get along, even though there's adversity that comes during the course of a season and guys tend to bicker and fray a little bit. They're competitive and they're playing for how you view them when this all said and done, and I think they won a championship.
We're giving Boston a chance to beat LeBron because Brad Stevens. I mean, if you put Nate McMillan there, if you put Terry Stott in, we would like LeBron to win this series. A big part of that component is Brad Stevens will steal games. Listen, when I say Mike D'Antoni, what's the first thing you think about?
Choke in the playoffs.
Okay, so I get the better team and the better coach and the 4 stars and championship experience. I don't think it's that competitive a series.
Is he going to make any adjustments? I mean, you know, any major adjustments throughout this series?
We said that with Utah. We said that Mike D'Antoni doesn't have any adjustments, and they went to Utah and won 2 games. Like, they showed you that they can turn it up defensively and make defensive adjustments with the staff that he's put together now. I don't think he has the same staff in Phoenix. I think his staff has gotten better, and he's able to do different things than he did before.
I like Dante's point about Chris Paul and James Harden's legacies being on the line. Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson have established their legacy. Kevin Durant, to some degree, has established. And so at Dante's point, which I tend to agree with, Paul and Harden are just going to be more desperate and more hungry. So I think that's going to be their advantage. They're going to be willing to do things. They'll come out of character, and I do think we're going to see more of them both playing at a high level because just the stakes are so high, and I think they're competitive.
I think you made a great point about why Golden State has 4 stars. But Draymond and Klay, to a lesser extent, are stars because, as you said, they're winning. Like, if Houston wins, Capella's going to be viewed as a star. Like, he gives you that. And if Eric Gordon plays well, he could be, you know, like, so it really is 2 franchise players, Steph and KD, against 2 franchise players in Houston. So that evens it out a little bit. That's a good point.
They mirror the Golden State Warriors of last year for us. When we played them in the championship last year, you saw it in their eyes. They had what we call get back. Like, we punched them in the face the year before, and they were waiting a whole year to get us back and to win something that they thought that we took back from them. You see that in Houston this year. You see CP and James wanting something more than just a normal winning of a playoff series. They're hungry. They have this thirst that you only comes around for one particular team in a season. And I don't see the same thing I saw in Golden State last year. KD had the adversity of him changing teams and him being the bad guy last year, and he wanted to get that off his back, get that off his chest, and to use the championship to do that. I think I see that in Houston this year.
That said, you've got the Warriors in 6.
Welcome back. Joined now by the founder of the Big Lead, Jason McIntyre. Let's move to Washington, D.C., where the Supreme Court issued a landmark ruling this morning striking down a 26-year-old federal law that prohibited states from legalized sports gambling. Today's decision now opens the door for states to legislate sports betting as they see fit, and many have already begun the process of trying to legalize it. The NFL released a statement, though, on the ruling saying, quote, "The NFL's long-standing and unwavering commitment to protect the integrity of our game remains absolute. Congress has long recognized the potential harms posed by sports betting to the integrity of sporting contests and the public confidence in these events. Given that history, we intend to call on Congress again, this time to enact a core regulatory framework for legalized sports betting." Whitlock, is legalized sports gambling good for sports?
I'm not 100% sure. Listen, obviously I'm a sports gambler. I don't know if it enhances the experience. It certainly makes you watch the game closer and more passionately, but there's a thin line between love and hate. And I've seen sports gambling activate my hate and activate the conspiracy theorist in me and makes me question the integrity of the game. When I don't have money on the game, I'm far more rational. And so I just think the pervasiveness of gambling throughout America, and particularly when you look at the lower end sports, I think it could lead to more corruption. We see that in soccer over in Europe. I'm not as thrilled about this as everyone else.
Listen, I'm not a big pot smoker, so when pot gets legalized in California, I don't rush to smoke it. If you don't bet sports, you're not rushing to a casino or a book to bet it. It will take people who already bet sports and make it easier and regulate it and take out, the markets that concern people. This is why they legalized marijuana. It made money for states, which I used to live in one, Connecticut, that's about bankrupt. So they're going to be one of the first to legalize it. I think stuff like this, there's a basic taboo. It was weed, same-sex marriage, legalized sports gambling. And then every year you'll see the voting on it, and we get more comfortable, and we get more comfortable, we get more comfortable. And then we wake up one morning and we're like, yeah, they're doing it in Europe. I'll tell you, for our business, it's great for TV. If I can get somebody to watch another segment of my show because they think they get information, that's great for television.
Yeah, besides media, we're talking about websites such as mine now. There's no stigma to, we can't put gambling ads on there. It looks bad. So we'll be having more money coming in, another revenue source for websites. I think you'll start to see TV shows featuring gambling left and right. But think about it for the leagues from this perspective, Whitlock. If they're bringing in that integrity fee, whether it's 1% or 0.5%, the salary cap's going to go up. That means more money for the players. Everybody wins. I mean, I don't think that whiff of impropriety will be out there for the NBA. Because remember, NBA and MLB and NBA, their leagues have been pushing this with the states. They've been going around the country. And even in the NFL, these guys make a lot of money. I don't see them being influenced. Now, the referees, as you alluded to, that could be an area.
College athletes, who'll be sitting there watching even more people make money off of their game, and they're not making any. How much easier will it be, perhaps, to entice one of those guys to throw a game, particularly with all that futures betting or the one-play betting, who scores first, who does this or who does that? I just think you're courting a lot more corruption.
Well, by the way, $4 zillion was bet last year in the Super Bowl. People are betting. Now they'll just do it legally. They were doing it out of a warehouse in Hoboken. Now they're doing it across the street at a parlor eventually where you and I live. One thing to remember, whenever people are like, whoa, gambling, I do a thing called Blazing 5. Mm-hmm. I've been doing it for a decade on Fridays. Yeah. I hit about 58%.
No,
you know what percent?
No, on a good year, right? I mean,
here's what I hit in Powerball, 0%. What's corrupt? States paying for funding for schools with almost no chance for me to win, or I can bet $50 tonight on a game, win it, and take my wife out for pizza. What's corrupt? The lotteries, to me, we're paying for our kids' education based on the chance, even if I won the Powerball. The state takes half. I get my money back and then some if I win a sports game.
How cool is this if you're at the Warriors-Rockets game tonight and this legalized gambling happens? In a year, you'll be able to sit there in the stadium and be like, oh, it's the fourth quarter. Who's going to score more points, Steph Curry or James Harden? And you could just put 100 on that and let it ride and have fun with it. You don't
And
think
be mad at Steph Curry when he doesn't
Well,
win
you
your
got to be a
bet
smart gambler.
and yelling and screaming
Okay.
at him in that arena.
Oh, by the way, sports is ruled by passion. Yeah. What is older than the NFL? European soccer.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something.
Yeah, I know.
No, but I mean, when you watch European soccer, it's almost, the brand of it is crazy fans, fires in stadiums. That is for,
That's
for
what we need, fires in stadiums.
By the way,
and riots in stadiums.
look at it this way. Do you like steak?
Of course.
If you win more of your bets, you get more free steak.
There you go.
Perfect.
Win-win, baby.
All right, welcome back to the show. Jason McIntyre is back. We're joined now by Super Bowl champ Mark Schlereth. Let's move to Baltimore, where there could be some trouble brewing with rookie quarterback Lamar Jackson admitting this weekend that he hadn't spoken to Joe Flacco at all since being drafted last month, with another report claiming Flacco hasn't returned any of Jackson's calls or texts. Cowherd, do you have an issue with Flacco ignoring Lamar?
Yeah, I think it's petty and unprofessional, but I think he has reason for concern because I think Lamar is going to be Tebow, and I think Flacco can see it coming. And both Tebow and Lamar are 3-year starters and Heisman winners who bring a brand to the league, will lead the league in sales. Quarterbacks, Kyle Orton, Flacco, local fans are about done with their act. Both have unique styles that may or may not work in the NFL, but had profoundly gifted college coaches, which elevated them to where they got a little overdrafted. I don't think Lamar's a first-round pick. I never thought Tebow was a draftable quarterback. And what happened with Tebow is happening with Lamar. We've already got a mini controversy. We're not even to camps yet. Tebow started catching fire before preseason. And his followers, his faith-based followers started, any story was big. And I think both Tebow and Flacco are underdog stories. And that plays huge to the American sports media. I think Flacco knows it. I think he senses it. But I do think he was petty.
Look, if any business hires the guy to replace you, I don't blame you for not speaking to that guy. I just don't have much of a problem with this. Lamar Jackson was drafted to replace Flacco. What's Flacco supposed to do? Throw a ticker tape parade? and what? Hey, Lamar, great to have you here. You're here to take my job. I think this is the Baltimore Ravens, Ozzie Newsome. I'll applaud him. What's always been missing with Flacco is an edge, a passion.
Yeah.
And they've lit a fire under him, and this is part of the fire. I ain't messing with Lamar Jackson.
You're not obligated in any way, shape, or form to mentor a guy. But this, to me, is a bigger issue of where Joe Flacco is from a confidence standpoint. I was drafted late. I was a 10th round draft choice. The year after I got drafted and became a starter, my rookie year, they drafted the Outland Trophy winner at my position. And I have to admit, I was nervous about it until I realized that guy can't play, right? And so for me, you get to the point where if you're Joe Flacco, I think there's two things here. One, shows me where your confidence level is in your own game. That you are so petty, that you are so threatened by this kid that you can't reach out and say, man, good to have you on the team. Look forward to competing with you. Two, the best thing that you can do for your own game is to talk about football, to mentor a guy, to teach a kid. Because you know what it ends up doing? You start to see the forest through the trees. You start to get the 30,000-foot perspective on what it is you're doing. It makes you a better player. One of the greatest pieces of advice, and I've gotten many of them, was from him about radio. I was doing radio at our former place of employment.
Yeah.
He mentored me. Was he afraid that I'd take his job? No. You know why? Because he's great at what he does. He's very confident in what he does. He gave me some of the best advice I've ever gotten, and I've had the #1 show in Denver for 2.5 years.
You should
by a long way.
If you listen to me like Schlereth.
But the point being is that if you're secure in what you're doing for a living, I don't care who comes in. I'm better than you. It's all right. I'll share with you everything you need to know because you're still not going to take my job.
I'm listening to everything, just so you know. But listen, you don't want Whitlock, him to throw a ticker tape parade? How about return a text message? I mean, that takes like 30 seconds. Listen, that just shows to me Joe Flacco's scared. And if I'm a Baltimore Ravens player right now, I'm like, geez, is our quarterback that soft and that scared that he doesn't want to return a text message from a rookie who, as you said, is multiple years away? I mean, Flacco's got to go home and look himself in the mirror and say, geez, what do I want from the rest of my career in Baltimore? Because if this is how it ends, with not returning text messages and losing your starting job, he's not going to be Joe Flacco's Super Bowl winner. He's going to be Joe Flacco, guy who took a huge contract and then failed and was scared to return.
You know, it's interesting. Last year, it was frustrating to you that Colin Kaepernick, who wasn't playing, was often the story in the league. Lamar Jackson, who won't play, will be the story of the league this year. I think there's something like Tebow that's magical about him. And I think when you move to these teams as a first-round quarterback and the starter struggles, that third deck, then the second deck, then the lower deck, then the sideline starts chanting your name.
I was at practice every day, Tebow's rookie year, during training camp. And Kyle Orton would come out and, I mean, just spin it. Tebow was dirting one ball after the next ball after the next ball. They'd walk out of the locker room for practice. Kyle Orton would get booed. Oh. Like literally get booed by 5,000 fans out there, and Tebow would get cheered. Tebow couldn't complete a 5-yard out. And it was like, I mean...
Sometimes
so y'all listen to that story and think Joe Flacco's in the wrong here.
No.
If he knows that's what's coming.
Yeah, but there's nothing... Again, if you have confidence, he's a Super Bowl MVP. You should have more confidence. To the Browns, who might have a quarterback controversy of their own. Coach Hugh Jackson just reiterated that Tyrod Taylor's the Browns' starting quarterback, which means first overall pick Baker Mayfield going to have to wait his turn. Whitlock, is Hugh Jackson, you know him, making a mistake naming Tyrod the starter over Baker?
Making a mistake naming Tyrod the starter. Naming. That's a completely different deal than Tyrod Taylor being the starter for the entire season. That would be a mistake. Let's get to training camp and see what happens with Baker Mayfield. I don't understand. No, what I will say, I don't understand why Hugh Jackson seems to be unopen to a quarterback competition right now. Tyrod Taylor has not earned the starting job in Cleveland.
He hasn't?
No, he's just been there a couple of weeks, a couple of months. What has he done?
We got Buffalo to the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
The number one overall pick in the draft.
Well.
No, that's where they took him. That's what he is. You are what your draft pick says you are. Why wouldn't he have a chance to be the starting quarterback? This silly to me.
Maybe Hugh Jackson understands we overdrafted him. I wasn't into Baker.
Then they need to fire Hugh Jackson.
Well, okay, so then your offensive-minded smart coach, let's get rid of him? I think Baker needs him.
Hugh Jackson's 1-31 with the Browns. Dorsey, the GM, did not hire Hugh Jackson. Hugh knows my only chance of keeping this job is if I start Tyrod Taylor and win some games.
Yeah.
You can't start a rookie 6-foot quarterback out of the gate. You go 1-5, you're toast. He won't make it to Thanksgiving at this rate. Hugh Jackson has to start Tyrod.
To me, his best chance would be getting great production out of Baker Mayfield and being Baker Mayfield's guy.
You think Baker's better than Tyrod Taylor?
I think that Baker will get his opportunity when they start the season 1-5 or 0-6. He'll get his opportunity. I think continuity is really important. Offense is all based on rhythm, the rhythm of the offense, even all the way down to cadence. I've actually seen a guy that I got drafted with get fired because his cadence was so bad. He was a 4th-round pick, I believe. Fired. Your cadence is so bad, we can't use you. So the rhythm of the offense starts with the cadence. But think about this. When you've played primarily in a spread system, I think Baker Mayfield took 6 snaps from under center. Okay, you get to the NFL, 60% of everything you do in the NFL is probably out of shotgun. That means 40% is under center. All your play action, all your good play action off your run game is under center. Now, you've got reverse pivot, you got open, you've got open to the play side, you got the reverse pivot out, and every route and route combination off of play action is based on your footwork. Now, I've talked to a bunch of quarterbacks that played in a spread system that say, I can't even focus on the coverage and the route combination because I'm busy counting steps. So the throw is based, if you're running drag slant or you're running all lion or you're running a route combination, the throw is based on the depth of your drop and the timing of your drop. And if you're sitting there going 1, 2, 3, 4, like all of a sudden I'm late with the ball coming out. And so it's a much tougher transition for a spread quarterback that all of a sudden gets put into a shotgun situation, which you're going to be in, or excuse me, in an under center situation, which is going to be 40% of the time. There's a transition. So Hugh Jackson's basically saying, hey, listen, this kid's going to play. He'll play for us. He'll play for the Browns, even if I'm not here. But he's not quite ready yet because he's never played from under center.
By the way, Tyrod Taylor, you know, I've said this before, not every business is Facebook or Amazon. Not every quarterback who's a franchise quarterback is Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson. Tyrod Taylor's a good quarterback. He's a C-plus quarterback. I wouldn't build around him for a decade. But if you threw me, if I'm a football coach, and you gave me Tyrod Taylor, who's played in Buffalo, which is Cleveland, just closer to Toronto. If you gave me Tyrod Taylor and Baker today, well, Tyrod Taylor's a better player. And by the way, I know he's a better player pre-Thanksgiving.
Let me change
for sure.
Let me change it. If it was Sam Darnold, what would you be saying?
Sam Darnold's a better player than Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield went number one,
Well,
Colin. Some people thought he was the best player in the draft. The Cleveland Browns.
Well, again.
And other people. Didn't Joel Klatt have him at the top of his? There's other people that know the quarterback position that have this guy rated as the top quarterback and the best player in this draft. And you're talking about you can't play him because Tyrod Taylor?
Studying him and watching him. Now, understand that 71% completion rate. It's like saying, hey, Josh Allen is really bad because he's 58% completion. Somewhere in the middle lies the truth, right? When you're throwing 5 or 6 bubble screens, a couple swing passes, a couple underneath things, you walk into a game 15 for 15. I was impressed with how well he threw the ball down the field from the pocket. Baker Mayfield. Okay. He is a pocket thrower.
No, he does.
With that said, you play in a conference where nobody's ever covered for the most part. So, there's a lot of this that goes on that you have to weigh and you have to look at. I think the guy is, my initial thought on him, and then after studying him, he's a much better player than I thought he was. But the bottom line is this. There's still a huge learning curve coming from that system that he's going to have to pick up on. And so I think I think they're doing a smart thing here. Tyrod, you're going to start until we stink. And then, Baker, you're going to come in and be our savior.
We want him to get out of September then.
Welcome back. Chris Broussard, Dante Jones are back. Let's return to Boston. Celtics dominate the Cavs in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. LeBron having his worst game in the playoffs so far. Most of the credit for this Celtic playoff run has gone to Brad Stevens, the coach, and even after that win, the coach still wants to see more from his team.
You know, we've got a lot of room to improve from tonight. We got stagnant in their third quarter run, and I think we're very alert to the fact that we'll get a heavyweight punch on Tuesday night.
All right, Whitlock, who's better at his gig, Stevens or LeBron?
Listen, you left out the word right now. I want to get out ahead of Dante Jones. He's going to list all of LeBron's accomplishments from the past, and that's not what we're talking about.
You're talking about this
game one?
game?
No, we talk this playoff series, this season.
Okay.
What's going on right now this season? Who's better at that? And look, it doesn't have to be a slight to either one. Right now, who is better at their job? I can put together a nice argument for Brad Stevens based off of what we're seeing right now. The man is at the peak of his powers. Who loses Gordon Hayward and Kyrie Irving and still makes it to the Eastern Conference Finals, comes out in Game 1 with a masterful game plan, brings Morris in as a starter, shuts down LeBron. It's a right now question. I don't want to hear about last year, Dante.
He shut down LeBron for one game. LeBron didn't play well. They didn't knock shots down. He never had Gordon Hayward, so he didn't lose Gordon. Gordon didn't get a full game in, so he was never part of the play. Kyrie has played half the season. They're the same team with Kyrie as without. They still win games, and they still play as hard. They still play defense. He's doing a great job. Like, he's the best coach in the league this year, in my opinion. However, he's still not better than the best player.
By the way,
best player in the game. Like, he still has 2 top 3 picks. He has an NBA All-Star.
He has
a great roster. Like, from 1 to 12, they have a great team. So he's doing his job, and he's doing it at a high level. But is he the LeBron James of coaching? No.
He lost 3 games at Milwaukee a week ago.
Thank you.
Or 2 weeks ago.
Did he win or lose a series?
Oh, well, congratulations.
They're playing a series.
He eked. By the way, they went to the fourth quarter in Game 7. It was that close.
How many games did LeBron lose against the Pacers? Are we going to count them?
Pacers are a good basketball team, man.
yeah,
they just
they
haven't.
are.
They're a very good
Greek
basketball
Freak
team.
And Milwaukee and
Like,
Jabari Parker.
they were
going
gonna
to
be a struggle for anybody.
They're all garbage.
Brad Stevens
Pacers are better than them.
is 1-4 on the road in the playoffs.
Woo!
They're 1-4 in a row. And to Dante's point, they have 3 number 3 picks in his starting lineup. Al Horford, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum were
should have been
number 3 picks.
Jason Tatum should have been a
Jason
number 1
Tatum
pick.
could have been the number 1 pick. Terry Rozier was a 16th pick. Marcus Morris, who started, was a lottery pick, 14th. So you have 5 lottery picks in your starting lineup. I'm just saying he's not working with a bunch of chumps. And Gordon Hayward, when Drake,
not the Spurs.
what sparked Golden State to be so great? When David Lee was hurt, and so Steve Kerr had to start Draymond Green, and the rest is history. This could end up being the same thing. Gordon Hayward was hurt, so Jason Tatum gets this role, and Jason Tatum is probably already better than Gordon Hayward, but certainly going to be better going forward. So, and then you got LeBron. Come on.
Come on, man.
I mean, what?
He's not. But what we're saying is he's not doing it by himself. Okay, he has a roster, a full roster. He's the best roster right now.
LeBron against Indiana, there were multiple games. He was on an island. He was doing everything to himself. Brad Stevens has a smart veteran, Al Horford. He's got guys who can shoot, Jason Tatum. Great defender, Jaylen Brown. Guy off the bench.
You just said after LeBron, the 3 best players in the series are on the Celtics.
But
You just said that.
You know what I'm going to say also? Let me add to that statement. Brad Stevens has a lot to do with that. He's developed these young guys into the great players that they
That's fair.
showed early on.
He's a great coach. He's probably the best. He's done the best coaching job this year.
You know what you always say on this show?
What?
This is Jason. Listen, I love LeBron, but let me spend another 9 minutes picking somebody else. That's what this show should be called. Speak for yourself about LeBron, how I don't love him, but I say I do.
I'm not knocking it.
Okay.
What we're seeing here is a great coaching performance from Brad Stevens that is the equal of LeBron's play. And all I'm saying is right now, what he's doing coaching-wise is equal what LeBron's doing as a player.
People were saying throughout these playoffs that LeBron is playing at a level we have not seen since Michael Jordan.
Exactly.
So he's playing at a level that only a handful of players have ever played at. That's what they were saying.
Is that what
Brad Stevens isn't doing that. He's doing great. Tom Thibodeau did this with a undermanned Chicago team. Quinn Snyder did it in Utah all year. You know, I thought he was coach of the year. Like a lot of
Chris
players
brought
like
up
coaches
something
like
very interesting last week. What happens when Kyrie and his ego come back into this mix? This is a young team that listens to Brad Stevens.
Yeah.
And trust.
Oh, they love Brad. What happens when Kyrie's like, I don't want.
We'll get there. We're getting there right now. Well, there's one guy in Boston who might not be so thrilled with Stevens' performance so far, Kyrie Irving. In fact, our good friend, crazy Chris Broussard, thinks Kyrie might actually be bothered watching the Celtics win all these playoff games without him. Colin, you think Broussard is onto something here?
I do. I think you said this on my show today. I thought it was really smart. He said, listen, we know why Kyrie left LeBron. It wasn't because they weren't winning. It wasn't because his agents were like, listen, you're in the finals. We want you off television in June. It was all working perfectly. He left because he wanted to be the man. Well, guess what? In Boston, he's not the man. This is Brad Stevens' brand now. And oh, by the way, Dante, back me up. If today you ran the Celtics today, and I said, one guy you can't trade, it's not Kyrie Irving. He's been hurt half his career. It's Jason Tatum. No way you trade Jason Tatum. You would trade. I would trade. I mean, I wouldn't want to trade.
I'll back you up on that one.
I wouldn't want to trade Kyrie, but he has been hurt. Pre and post LeBron. At Duke, he was hurt.
You can create some type of opinion on why you could trade Kyrie because of his injury history, because of
Terry Rozier.
Terry
Biggest
Rozier's
shot in Cleveland
no,
history.
no.
Get rid of him for that.
I said that on his show today. Like I said that Kyrie is valuable, and you can't, but you can create an argument to say why.
Yes.
Jason Tatum, you can't do that right now because he is in the first year of his career. He's doing things that he shouldn't be doing. He's leading his team to the conference finals. He's doing an amazing job, and he's just scratched the surface.
And he's
of
a
his
bigger
talent.
athlete.
He's long.
Never
he can
been
defend,
hurt.
and he can shoot.
Look, I'm not saying Kyrie definitely isn't happy, and I'm certainly not saying he's selfish. I'm saying he's human. And if you were off the show for 3 months, and whoever was filling in, all of a sudden the ratings are sky high, and we're doing better than ever, and people are forgetting about you, how you gonna be feeling? Honestly.
Well, first of all, we haven't forgotten about Kyrie, and no one would ever forget about him.
Right.
And so what I would say is, damn, when I get there, my God, they're doing this well without me. When I get there, Lord knows what's going to happen. We'll beat Oprah.
Now, all right. So let me ask you this. It was on my radio show, The Odd Couple, Rod Parker. He brought this up. He said, when it would bother Kyrie is if they win a championship. Like if Boston won the championship this year, that would bother him.
I don't think Kyrie's bothered at all. I think Kyrie is solidified in who he is and what he brings to the table. He's unique. He's a superb talent. Like he's the best at what he does in the NBA, bar none. The person who might go into a hole is Gordon Hayward because we don't need you anymore. Like we really don't. Where does he fit in? Time out. Where does he play? Because Jalen, Jason, both Marcuses got you to the conference final without your leading scorer. What is he going to be, the 5? Like, where do we throw him in at? Because you can't push Jason and Jalen back a step, and they play the same position.
Stop. There's only one person bothered by the success of the Celtics, LeBron James. Kyrie Irving looks like a genius for going to Boston. Everybody right now, including you started the talk last week. Boston's winning the championship next year. The one person bothered by this is LeBron James. Kyrie Irving bothered. He's excited.
He's not a
He
genius.
made the right call, and now they're the championship
Well, he didn't
favorites.
make the call.
He didn't pick
Boston.
Boston wasn't even one of his
wasn't on
top
his
4
list.
teams.
So he
They
didn't
weren't
pick
even on his
Boston.
list.
He made the right call
He
leaving
just-
Cleveland.
he got lucky.
He's now in Boston. He's playing for Brad Stevens. Championship favorites next year, according to Colin Cowherd. And y'all think he's bothered.
They're the team to beat in the East in the upcoming
think
future.
they're
They're the
great.
youngest, best skilled team in the East right
A
now.
dynasty, and y'all think he's bothered.
I'm not.
He's
Look,
not the
again,
man.
I'm not saying he's bothered. I'm just saying human nature is that you want to shine, especially if you're a star. You want to shine.
He's gonna shine.
Well, we'll see.
Welcome back. Time for last call. Let's move to golf, where Tiger Woods says he's not far from winning again after storming up the leaderboard over the weekend to finish tied for 11th at the Players' Championship. Cowherd, you encouraged by Tiger's big weekend?
No. I look at that 42-year-old body, and I don't see a player who can play great for 4 straight rounds. And I think that's what it takes today.
Colin, did you watch any of this weekend?
Yes, I did.
He was spectacular on Saturday.
Saturday.
Spectacular again on Sunday.
How was he on Friday?
Got it, Colin, but again, it's a process, and the process is right on course. The guy's going to be a top 10 contender at the U.S. Open. I'm going to say he'll finish in the top 5. This was one of the best fields other than the majors you could have, and he finishes 11th. Should have finished in the top 5, you know.
He's been very good on weekends. Sometimes those weekdays going into the weekends, he's too far back. Listen, I want him to be good. Fox owns the U.S. Open. I'm rooting for him.